Hey guys, I just realized that I forgot to tell you what happened to my house on Halloween.
Halloween?
What happened?
I got egged. Somebody egged my house.
That's not cool.
You know, I should have had my gun outside in hindsight. That would have been. I
think that includes the night vision. Pretty sure.
Wah, wah.
Hey guys, how you doing? How was your week?
Good.
Hey, what's up, Carl?
Good. Tired. Good. We're good. Gonna make it.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of that going around.
We have some serious hacks to talk about in the news last week, including that whole iPhone kerfuffle.
Oh.
We'll get to that last.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Hide your kids.
But let's start with some of the more ho-hum, whatever. But these attacks may affect you, so we're going to talk about them. What's the app presser WordPress thing like? What's that all about?
So here, it's been a hot minute since we've talked about WordPress, which is surprising. Maybe we've been picking on Microsoft too much, but
it really hasn't been that long.
It's still like a week and a half.
It hasn't been long enough, actually.
It seems long, right? So here again, just another plugin. You know, it's funny. A lot of people ask me like, "Hey, WordPress is such a dumpster fire," and honestly, it's not. It's the ecosystem of plugins. So this is another case. There's a CVSS score of 9.8 on a plugin called App Presser.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're using App Presser up to version 4.2.5, there's a patch you can update to, but if you don't update to it, successful exploitation of this vulnerability can lead to unauthorized password reset, not limited by fail attempts or weak password reset codes. So
wait, does that mean if you go to reset your password or somebody else can reset your password?
Somebody else can reset your password.
Oh,
yeah,
that's not good.
The protections to make sure someone else doesn't reset your password.
Yeah, so this is classified as a bypass, where I can bypass security mechanisms in place and just continually force reset your password.
Jeez.
So you'll want to make sure you update.
Yeah.
No es bueno.
I'm not sure how that got missed in the QA, but I don't know. It is what it is.
All right. Can we give some general advice? Try not to use WordPress.
Oh, here you go. Here's how this was here's how this was missed. This is due to the plugin generating too weak of a reset code.
Oh, so you get emailed a reset code like 1234 or 5555.
Probably literally like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Literally exactly 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Oh,
good guess. You're a hacker now.
Look at you, Carl.
I know, right? Look, Ma. No brains.
Look, Ma, no password.
No brains. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to want to go patch that.
All right, this next one is from cybersecuritydive.com. Small to medium businesses are hit by rise in legitimate tool-based attacks. Okay, what's a legitimate tool-based attack?
So it's not
that the attacks are legitimate, it's that the tools are legitimate.
No, they're completely legitimate. Yeah, and so what we see is antivirus and endpoint detection starts to get really, really good at detecting all of the hacky, weird things we try and do to bypass, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do hackers do? They go, okay, we'll just use regular tools. Like we'll use
living off the land.
Yeah, either what they call RMM, which is remote monitoring and management tools, or just normal Windows administration tools. Right? Those are never going to be picked up. They're never going to be blocked because they're legitimate tools. They've actually been signed by Microsoft. So yeah, and what Patrick had just said. It's called living off the land, typically.
Right.
Where you just take what you find.
Use whatever you can.
Yeah, exactly. And that way you're not going to be detected.
So if you're going to break into Patrick's house, you'd look around, you'd find an axe in the backyard, and you'd break the window, right?
You'd con his dogs into fighting for you or something.
Yeah, but all the axes are keyed to my DNA, so they would just not work for you.
I could see that for a gun, but an axe? Now I'm intrigued.
Do you ever see Blade? Blade got the idea for a sword from me.
It's impressive. That's impressive.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because when I see these SMB attacks, I always think server message blocks, like
kind
Windows.
Of. That's what I thought too. Yeah.
right, exactly. It's like no, small to medium business.
Okay.
Well. It's all good.
So is there anything we should be on the lookout for, or?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, there's a huge rise in attacks on small to medium businesses and hospitality. That's where we're seeing like a lot of focus. And part of it is small to medium businesses don't have the time, money, expertise in some cases to focus on their cybersecurity, right? If you're a small widget maker and you make widgets, you're not probably a cutting edge cybersecurity person.
Wait a minute. I thought we weren't supposed to call small people widgets anymore.
I don't know. Is that a thing?
It's really not politically correct, Dwayne.
Wow. I didn't know.
And
what if I like widgets? Widgets are cool. Thingamabobs? Can I have a thingamabob maker?
It said small widget maker, and just because they're small doesn't mean you can call them a widget.
It's okay to be a widget as long as you're not an idjit.
Wow. That should have been the opening dad joke. I'm just
Is this a security show or not?
Not really. No, not really. So one of the things that really is going to help you catch this is watching the logs for remote connections. And the problem is people don't watch the logs. So I think it's going to become more and more important for people to set up a security operations center where they aggregate logs or get someone to be looking at your logs to see when something, happens. If you don't do business with Thailand, there shouldn't be anybody connecting to your network from Thailand. And so and I'm not to pick on Thailand, but just if it does, don't get me started. But if the problem is we don't look for these things, and most things have a lot of logs, and there's frameworks called SOC software that will watch those logs and figure out when something's amiss. Maybe they need their MSP to do it, but it's no longer becoming optional.
Yeah, no, I agree. But a lot of it's also the basics. It's like, are you patching? Do you have decent passwords? Like a lot of small to medium businesses just don't focus on that at all, right? If you run a small bakery on a corner shop somewhere, you're not like, oh my God, I should really worry about my passwords, right? You should worry about waking up at 4 a.m. and making bread.
Right.
So it's tough to then go, hey, I have this other thing that may happen that may totally take down my business or cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars, but that's kind of a what if.
Right. All right. So what's the takeaway message here, Dwayne?
Yeah, I think the takeaway here is, listen, large hacking organizations are definitely focusing on smaller, medium to businesses. So have your cybersecurity basics in check. Better passwords, make sure you're patching, you're probably okay. And don't click on anything in email. Even if you know the person, never click on anything in email. You're probably okay.
True. No, it's very true. As we said before, you can use like a Cyrillic A or a Cyrillic character that looks like an A, but it's a completely different character. So even if the domain looks right to you, don't click on it. Go to the website, log in, and then if there's anything important.
What I say is you should use a separate channel to validate. So if one of your service providers sends you an email with hey, you need to update your payment method in your account, don't click the link provided. Go to the site, open a browser, and see if there's a message that indicates the same thing. And if it doesn't, probably not legit.
My mother keeps getting stressed out about emails about her Geek Squad renewal. And it comes from, some silly address.
Some Gmail account. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's literally stressing out over this, She doesn't need the stress. She's like 80 years old,
Yep.
Does she even have a Gmail account?
Yeah.
I mean, not a Gmail account, a Geek Squad account?
No, she does not. No. And it's easy to tell because, it's from sergey.google.gmail.com or something like that. All right. So, last story before a break, Google Chrome emergency update fixes 6th zero-day exploited in 23. So that's the 6th zero-day bug that has been exploited in 2023. Yikes.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Every piece of software, every system in the world can unequivocally be said to have bugs and 0 days hidden in it.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you look for them, the more you'll find them.
Right.
And so we shouldn't react and say, well, Google Chrome's junk.
Right.
It's because they're finding and fixing them.
Yeah.
The fact that they're exploited isn't great either. But you also saw this with Microsoft back in the 2000s, where most of the viruses and things were targeting Windows. Why? Because it was 90% of the market share.
Yeah.
And Google has become the big browser in the environment. So you can see more people looking at it, because if they can exploit Google, they can get a bigger reach.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and this exploit is actually in one of the ways that they handle images, and it involves was it Skia, Skia, whatever that plugin is that handles 2D graphics. But the interesting part of this exploit is it is actually literally
Wait a minute, I think it's called ska, and it's the future of music. No, actually, I think it's a different topic.
It's Skia Sharp or something.
Yeah, that might be entirely different. But it's an integer overflow issue.
Wow.
I haven't seen an integer overflow in.
Okay, that's a big knock on Google then, because you shouldn't be having integer overflows anymore.
Your compiler should protect you from that.
You would think, right?
Unless they're writing code in old C or C++ without bounds checking or something.
Yeah, and I don't, this isn't Google, right? So Google no, it is Google. You're right. Oh yeah, it's a 2D graphics library from Google. I know Google found it. The tag found it, which is the threat. Their threat group.
Well, and kudos to them for having that.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's an awesome group. They probably bag more 0 days than most nation states. So
I said the compiler should take care of that, but that's not actually the case. It is possible for the compiler to run everything and expect everything fine, but then allow an integer to be incremented, say past. It's, past its limit.
It's expiration date.
Yeah, past its limit.
Yeah. I don't know.
So that is a runtime bug.
Yeah, but these are mistakes that we should really be moving past.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Could be the file size, because sometimes you'll load a file and the size on the object that you're loading is an integer and it's too big.
Yep.
That could happen. All right, enough speculation. Who knows what's going on?
Neat. Yeah, I'm a moral of the story go patch, but it's already in Chrome and other
just restart Chrome.
Fine places. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with more interesting stories and more terrifying right after this. And we're back. It's Security This Week. I'm Carl Franklin. That's Patrick Hines and Dwayne LaFlotte. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hey, Carl.
So this one came across my Mastodon account. And somebody, actually, an alert listener actually said, you guys should definitely talk about this. It's horrifying. So this is a TechCrunch.com article. Ransomware catastrophe at Fidelity National Financial causes panic with homeowners and buyers.
Yeah.
Yikes. What's the story?
So unfortunately, there's not a ton of detail that I've been able to find as to how it initiated. I mean, there's only so many ways you can get ransomware, right?
Right.
Well, let's talk about that.
Somebody has to click on something.
Okay. Well, no, not always.
True.
So
True.
The most common is somebody is convinced to do something they shouldn't. Click on something,
right.
Navigate to somewhere, download a document that loads. Those are the ways that phishing is usually used.
Social engineering.
But if you have a misconfiguration of a server that's public facing or a router, and I can get onto the network, I can release the ransomware myself. It's not as common. It's not as heard of, but it's certainly possible for that to be a way for it to happen too. We just knee jerk to it's phishing and someone clicked on the wrong thing because it's so common, because it's probably 95% of the cases.
Okay.
Oh, it's interesting too. So this is the Black Cat group. Black Cat claims it is behind the Fidelity National Financial ransomware shakedown.
And the reason this is considered catastrophe is because everyone who is like in the middle of a transaction with them, they don't have any records. So if you think about any modern company, their data is the company. If I don't know who owes me money and who I know owe money to, I can't operate. I might as well cease to exist.
Yeah.
And so ransomware puts you in that situation where if you don't have good backups, and many don't, many people have good backups and they just never tested them. So they have backups, but not restores.
Okay. So according to security researchers, do you guys remember a couple weeks ago we had talked about Citrix having a pretty damning, what was dubbed Citrix bleed attack.
Yeah.
There's speculations that it's FNF's Citrix NetScalers that were online.
Wow.
That Black Hat was able to breach using Citrix breach and then deploy the ransomware.
Which is what I was just talking about, is that if it's not somebody, you don't always have to force an error from the staff if there's a configuration way in, or if there's a unpatched weakness way in.
Yeah.
So if you click on the original story, there's a link there. The original story, which I'll also post in the show notes, Fidelity National Financial shuts down network in wake of cybersecurity incidents. So they shut down.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was pretty damning. And it sounds like it's weird how it sounds like a normal corporate conversation between Black Hat and FNF, because the Register reached out to, I think it was the Register who had reached out to him, is the article I'm looking at. And it says that the Black Hat responded with, hey, before we disclose whether or not we have collected any of your data, we would like to allow FNF further time to get in touch with us.
Okay.
They said, we don't want to disclose every card at this early stage. I'm like, wow. Okay. Way to be, professional blackmailers.
Yeah.
It's like tidy murderers.
Yeah, the British murderer that wears the gloves and,
right.
wipes everything down.
Sorry.
Saturday Night Live should have a skit, the anal retentive murderer.
Would honestly probably get away with everything.
Played by Christopher Walken.
Oh my God, that'd be fantastic.
I'm going to kill you, but first, some fine champagne.
Please step on this plastic sheeting.
All right, so the next story is a little bit of good news. It's The Independent in the UK. Top tech firms sign new government charter to crack down on online fraud. Now, I this is the only article I've seen about this. I haven't seen anything in the news, so I can't really corroborate it. But I guess The Independent is a pretty reliable source, isn't it?
I would assume so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if what I'm reading here is true, I think it's good.
So, yeah, okay. So let me just read a couple of paragraphs. The UK government has launched an online fraud charter with 12 major tech companies in a world-first initiative to combat online scams, fake adverts, and romance fraud, which clearly is a problem. Home Secretary James Cleverly hosted representatives from several leading tech companies, including Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, and YouTube, to sign the pledge to tackle internet fraud at Lancaster House in central London on Thursday morning. Other firms signing the voluntary agreement include Amazon, eBay, Google, Instagram, LinkedIn, Match Group, Microsoft, and X. X.
I like this. Because honestly, it's, who better to, what they're looking to do is implement more control around, who do we accept as advertisers? Is it really just anybody with a buck, or do we have to know who they are, right?
I thought that was literally X's motto. Anybody with a buck.
Anybody with a buck.
Pay us $8 and we'll verify your identity. You don't have to show any proof. Just,
just dollars.
Yeah, just money talks. Well,
yeah. So we'll see what happens with it, though.
I think it's good news if it has teeth. It could be just something to placate the public, but who knows? I hope it has teeth. I
mean, it has to start somewhere, and hopefully they're doing something that's useful and going to bring fruition. It could just be lip service, and that's the problem.
Right. All right. Let's get to the clickbait story. So it starts with Yahoo News, and this is just a source that I found, but there was a whole bunch of these stories. Yeah. And I posted it for everybody else to take a look at. Did you recently update your iPhone? Police are warning about a new feature. Police departments nationwide are issuing warnings about a new feature in Apple's most recent software update, iOS 17. The Jefferson Hills Police Department on Sunday joined others in explaining NameDrop, a feature sparking privacy concerns. According to Apple, NameDrop helps quickly share contact information by bringing iPhones or Apple Watches close together. Jefferson Hills police say this feature is on by default and shared how to turn it off. To shut off NameDrop, go to Settings, select General, then AirDrop, then toggle off Bringing Devices Together. Police encourage parents to turn this setting off on their children's phones to help keep them safe.
I think this is fun.
So it's complete FUD. So what did we learn about this when I said, hey, Dwayne, can you guys look into this?
Yeah. So, okay. Yes, there was a new feature added. And yes, there is where the feature is when you bring two phones together, you can exchange contacts. But notice I say can.
Yes, it doesn't happen automatically.
Yeah.
No, and they have to be within an inch of each other.
And they have to be within an inch of each other. It has to be for several seconds. It's not like, hey, just passing by.
Right.
And then on top of that, if it's not a contact you already have, like if it's a contact I already had, like I took my son's phone and I unlocked both phones and I put them together and it was like, boop, that's Josh's phone. I was like, oh my gosh, wow. Yeah, I transferred without anything. But if it's a contact you don't have, if you delete the contact and try and transfer it, it asks both phones. It says, do you want to transfer this? And on top of that, both phones have to be unlocked. So yes, if you leave your phone unlocked on a table somewhere, somebody can steal your contact information, but they also could just open your contacts and read it. So
that's right.
I don't know. Yeah.
Or install an app that they like. Yeah. I think it's one of those things where, they're overreacting. They don't understand. AirDrop is far worse.
True.
I think.
Yep.
And they're not saying anything about that.
Because you can transfer files and do all sorts of things, not just contact information. Yeah.
And that's any random person who's standing close to you, not even touching phones. So honestly, I would dub this as there's a lot of hype around this. I've seen multiple police stations. I've had umpteen conversations with people, just friends, family, who have stopped me and been like, oh my God, is this? Yeah. I'm like, no, honestly, it's not that big a deal. If you're not comfortable with it, turn it off, right?
Fine.
So kudos to you, Dwayne, and you, Patrick, and your staff for looking into this and figuring it out. And then just hours after you had figured it out, we started to see, the police, this article at macrumors.com, police departments and news sites spreading misinformation about how iOS 17 NameDrop feature works. And so, I think everybody kind of feels like the police department filled us with unnecessary anxiety and fear.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel bad because, listen, if the police are concerned about a new feature that might put especially children at risk, absolutely, they should jump on the bandwagon and be like, hey, somebody should look at this. Right. And make sure that this is something secure for children to have on devices that they're carrying around in their pocket all the time.
How did this spread, though? I mean, did one police department start and say, hey, this is a problem?
And somebody must have picked it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I saw. It was like, I don't remember which police station it was, but they got picked up by a national news wire. And then everybody started saying, oh my God, you got to watch out for this.
Right.
And like I said, really, you're right, Carl. Like AirDrop's scary, and that's odd. Like, and nobody goes, "Oh my God, I should worry about AirDrop." If you're really concerned about it, go in and turn it off. If you don't think it's a feature you're going to use, that's fine. Just go in and shut it off. It's not that big a deal. But the bigger concern was people are like, "Oh my gosh, Apple should have had it off by default." And it's like, they put in reasonable security measures,
right?
And that's not to say, 5 years from now we don't find some 0 day by the Pegasus group that exploits.
That's why
I
turned it off,
right?
Yeah, that's why I turned it off, because it's a potential threat vector.
It's surface area,
exactly.
It's surface area, exactly, and I like to keep those off, unless I want it,
right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. But to turn it off just because you're like, oh my gosh, somebody's going to walk by me and steal, like, that's not going to happen.
You should be more concerned about the pineapple in an airport.
Oh my God, yeah. I was traveling 2 weeks ago, and I had my Hack RF, which is a SDR radio. Looks like a tiny little TV screen, and I slid out the antenna.
SDR is software defined radio.
Yeah, I slid out the antenna to like 6 feet and turned it on, and I'm watching all of the IDs on all the planes go by, just like it's IDing, and I can see all the information for the planes and that sort of stuff. There's 4 fully armed TSA agents right there, and just like, nothing.
Yeah.
But I did have an engineer come up to me and go, oh my God, is that an SDR? he like sat down and started talking to me. He's like, what does it do? What's it pulling? And it was like, he was an insurance engineer. It was pretty awesome. But
we haven't talked about the pineapple in a while, and I don't even know if it's still a problem, but it's a device that pretends to be, I think it's ATT_Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it could be anything.
Which is well, it's a very common endpoint. And a lot of phones, iPhones in particular, have a, join networks or don't ask to join well-known networks.
Right.
And so you're in an airport and you see ATT Wi-Fi and your phone says, oh, I think I'll join that. And it says, it tries to connect and, the pineapple pretends to be an endpoint and it says, oh, what's your password?
Right.
And no matter what no matter what your phone sends, it says, okay, you're connected.
It allows you to connect.
And then the phone starts, going to Gmail and Facebook.
It's a little different than that. There's a little nuance there. So let's talk about this for a minute. But you're right. So if let's say you go to Starbucks and you join the network at Starbucks, or you go to Hilton Hotels and you join the Wi-Fi at the Hilton Hotel. If you had a password on that website, then the protocol doesn't really work where it can just say, yes, that's the right password. There is a handshake. Yeah. So if the network's protected by a password, it's safer.
Yeah.
But here's how we would use it to attack. Let's say I would go someplace and I would turn it on and I would know that you're looking for a unprotected network, one that uses a captured portal or something like that.
Right. Like a Hilton or a Marriott.
Your phone's like, hey, is Hilton here? Is Hilton here? And it says there's a software that runs on the Wi-Fi Pineapple specifically called the Ja-Sager, which is German for the yes sayer. And so it says, yes, I am that network that you're looking for. And it will let you connect to it. Now, if you had a password like your home network, it wouldn't work there unless we knew the password and configured it on the Pineapple. Mm-hmm. But that's not nearly as hard as you think. So it turns out that if I have a Wi-Fi Pineapple or some other devices, we use the more sophisticated devices, I can go to your house, get a handshake probably within a half an hour of listening, but probably within 30 seconds of forcing it. If I'm willing to cause it to give me a handshake, now I go and brute force that password. And if it's an 8-character password, which is the default for most routers, it'll only take an hour.
Yeah.
Right.
Tops.
Then we come back and we configure the Wi-Fi Pineapple with your password. And when you connect, sometimes you'll connect to your home, sometimes you'll connect to me. But more importantly, if I can take it someplace where you're not around, how often do you know what Wi-Fi network you're connected to?
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, I always do because I'm cognizant of it.
Right.
Now you are. And that's great.
Yeah. And I shut Wi-Fi off if I'm not at the house, but
yeah, me too.
Most people don't.
Right. So that's the danger. And we use the Wi-Fi Pineapple as a shorthand to talk about these man-in-the-middle devices, but they have come a long way since the Pineapple.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of very sophisticated devices out there. A lot of cool things you can do.
That we will not confirm or deny our possession of.
I'm going to add a link to geofencing. And this is basically a thing that you can say with my phone, if I'm within my house or these particular areas, use the Wi-Fi, otherwise turn it off.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yep. And speaking of great ideas, let's GFA. Get the F out of here.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, listen to Security This Week to placate your fears, because everything's going to be fine. Right, guys?
Yeah, it'll be all right.
Yeah.
Until next week when I find some new stuff. Then it won't.
Some awesome stuff.
Some awesome stuff.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.